What up, everyone? Happy Sunday. Here to do another weekly overview for this coming up week of 220. So I'm going to jump right into it. First thing I always like to do as usual is check the earnings calendar and the econ calendar. So this week we have some big names in Walmart, Home Depot, Coin, Nvidia, Baba, SQ, and a few others. Especially, and then looking at the econ calendar, we have data coming out Tuesday. We have FOMC minutes coming out Wednesday during market hours, GDP on Thursday. So those are going to be some big things we're watching for this week. So jumping into the charts right away, all the indices, SPY, QQQ, IWM, if you're looking on the weekly, have all been just kind of consolidating the last 2 weeks, even though we've had like CPI and some big earnings in the last couple of weeks. So that's something I'm watching for. Potentially a big move coming up. The next thing I like to do is I like to jump in and look at the expected move for the week. So SPY's expected move for the week is $7.40. So realistically, within two standard deviations, a 90% chance we stay between 422 and 392. You see, last week we stayed within the first standard deviation of all the stocks that were on my watch list. So there's about a 68% chance we stay within that. And last week, every single one of them. So it's 10 tickers all stayed within their first standard deviation. So jumping into the charts, um, looking at SPY on a daily, put my chart up. I'm watching this 403 area as a big support. This 404, 403. We've had some nice bounces. So I'm keeping an eye on that area of support. Below that, we have psychological level at 400. And if we keep breaking down, we could push down it all the way down to this 392, which is more the bottom of this base. On the upside, I'm watching 408 as resistance. We kind of created this gap. So I kind of want to see where we open on Tuesday. And then this 410, 411 has been pretty big resistance pushing into 415 and then potentially into this gap into the 420s. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on here as we just kind of been consolidating and sitting in this range. We did have higher volume coming in on Friday as we bounced off this 404. So it's something to keep an eye on. Jumping into QQQ. No potential bull flag right here. They all kind of look the same, but we have a bull flag right here. So I'm watching this 300 to 98 area as support as we got a pretty nice bounce and push above that. Below that, I have 296 and then down to 290, 289. Resistance going up, I have 305, about right here, 305, this little gap, and then 308, and then up to this 314, 315 area as my resistance. Next, we have IWM. IWM's been holding above 190. It's a little bit stronger than the rest, higher volume coming in, and we're holding pretty nice. So for IWM, kind of have this little symmetrical triangle forming. I would say it's a little more bullish because we're holding above this key 190 area, which has been a big resistance for a long time. So I'd like to see us hold above this 190, 189 area. If we do break below, I have a level of 187.50 and then down to 182, 180 would be supports. But holding above this, I'm looking for a break above this 195, 196, potentially into this 200 area. Those would be my resistances there. Jumping into some tickers I'm watching this week. I do have a lot of tickers on my watch list this week. I'm going to jump right into it, starting with Apple. Apple's been kind of sitting in this base between this 150 to 157.50 for quite a while now. So I'm keeping an eye on that. I'm watching the support of this 150. If we keep breaking below, I could see us pushing down as 147 and potentially filling this gap to the downside, and also pushing all the way down as 142, 140 area. We're moving down to the upside. I want to see above 154 or 20, 155 is a pretty big resistance. And then coming to retest this 157, then to the 160, 163, putting on resistance to the upside. Next, we have AMD. AMD had earnings this week. Sorry, Nvidia is having earnings this coming up week, so that's gonna Definitely be in play for Nvidia, and I mean AMD, and I'll have an effect on it. So I'm watching for that. It's sitting above this 177, 178, which has been pretty good support, but we do have a lot of gaps to the downside. So if we keep retesting this, I'm watching for downside. Resistance right now is at 80. Breaking above that, we had 85, 86, and then into this 88, 90 area as resistance. If we're not able to hold this 78, 78, 77 area, we could quickly move down into the 72 to 70 area, filling these gaps pretty quickly. So that is something I'm keeping an eye on, especially with NVIDIA earnings could cause a move on this. Next, I have CCL. So looking at the weekly on CCL, you can see these candles are fairly weak. They've been getting rejected and pushed down pretty hard. And then coming in here on the daily, we have a pretty big RSI bearish divergence right here. It's kind of starting to form a wedge. I'm going to actually get down to again to the 1 hour. So here I'm looking, we broke below this 1150 area. $11 is a pretty big support. It's 11.10. So I'm looking for a retest potentially of this 1150 and then more downside to break this support at 11 down to this 1050 area. If we're able to break above 1150, we could come back and test this 1220 area, which has been a pretty big resistance. But I'm looking for more of a bearish move on this since the daily and weekly and everything show that to me. Next, I have JPM. I'm actually going to go to the monthly for this. So the monthly has a potential head and shoulders forming. This 142 to 145 has been the shoulder. So potentially forming the right shoulder. So I'm keeping an eye on this. We'll go down to the daily. Fine. Yeah. So the daily is forming a rising wedge right here, right into this 144 where it's been rejecting with a bearish divergence. So this 144 is a key resistance area I'm keeping an eye on, and 140 to 138 has been support. So if we come up to this 144, I'll be looking for rejections. If we're not able to hold 140, I'm gonna look down 138 and then potentially all the way down to this 133, 132 area as the move down. If we do break above this 144 area, we could see a move and a breakout up to this 147 area. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on here. Next, we have Coca-Cola. I'm gonna go to the weekly on here. So the weekly, I see a potential inverse head and shoulders forming. We've had a nice bounce in this 58 to 60 area, potentially forming the right shoulder. So I'm keeping an eye on this. And we have rising volume into these indecision candles. And go to the daily. And on the daily, we have a falling wedge right here with a very slight RSI divergence. It's not a strong one. But you see the bounce right out of this like 59 area. So I'm looking for potential retest in this area or a hold at 60. We could see a move up to 62, then all the way up to about 64, 65 area to test. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Next, we have Meta. Meta, we potentially have like a bull flag or falling wedge somewhat forming right above this gap and right above a key area at 170. So this 170 is a pretty critical area if we come back down to test it. So I'm watching that level. If we're able to hold that level, I want to see how 175 reacts, and then the next resistance will be 180, then 185 area. If we are not able to hold above 170, we could start to fill this gap fairly quickly. Next support would be this 157, 160 area down to this all the way down to the bottom of the gap, which is 153. So I'm watching for two things here, either a hold of this set 170 and a push up, or breakout above 175. If we cannot hold 170, I'm looking for a breakdown. If we reject 175 as well, I'll be looking for a breakdown pretty hard. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for on Meta. And then we come down to Microsoft. Microsoft kind of broke out, and then we kind of came back down to retest this area. Microsoft has key support right here at this 255, which created a nice bounce last time. And then we're coming back to retest it. So I'm watching this. Uh, if we cannot get above 260, I'm watching for a retest of 255. If we are able to get it to over 260 and start filling this gap, I'm gonna be watching this 267.50 area and then potential push back up to this 275, which is the high here of this little base, or potential move to the upside. Below 255, if we're not able to hold, I'm gonna be looking for a move down to 250, 248, which would be the next support. Then I have PayPal. I see a potential inverse head and shoulders forming. We had a really nice bounce off this $71 area, and then you see here that's where we gapped up as well. Um, so we're coming down again to retest this. We have some strength coming into here, so weakness coming in. So I'm looking for this potential gap to fill. And I'm gonna be keeping an eye on this 70, 71 area for a potential bounce and creating this right shoulder. A resistance, I have 75, 76, and then up to the 79, 80 area. That's what I'm gonna be keeping an eye on here. And then next I have Tesla. Um, so Tesla's over 200, so that is the main support and key area that I'm watching. Um, Below that, I have 191.89, and then down to this 180 area potentially. And the resistance, I have 210, and then this 214 to like 215 area. If we're able to break above this, we could see it move up to this 225 to 230 area. Looking at on the 4 hour, we could draw a trend line all the way up, and kind of same here. So we do have a very big bearish divergence on here. So seeing this reaction around the 210 into this 214 area, if we do see weakness, we could see some shorting it, which could potentially form, all right, and then break down to this 200 and further down. So that's what I'm watching here on Tesla. If we have a lot of strength and we're able to get above this 210 to 214, I'm gonna be looking for a move to the upside. So, and that's what I'm watching this week. Thank you.